Hey, in this video today I'm going to compare the Rescuers franchise to the Lion King franchise. Interesting comparison because the Lion King franchise is definitely more well known. Of course, part of that is because, well, new movie in the franchise came out in 2019, not that long ago, and obviously it made a bunch of money at the box office, made $1 billion. A lot of people saw it when it initially came out, whereas if the Rescuers, you have this Disney animated movie from the 70s. There was one sequel that came out, Rescuers Down Under, but nothing else for this franchise. So, not as many people are actually familiar with the Rescuers. Certainly not talked about as much as The Lion King, as you can imagine. First of all, when you look at highest score for each franchise, in the case of Lion King, the 1994 classic is a 93%. That's unsurprisingly the highest score. And in the case of The Rescuers, that original movie has a very solid score of 79%, which is certified fresh by 4%, but Lion King's going to win this round. Then when you look at lowest score for each franchise, with Rescuers, the lowest score is a 72% for Rescuers Down Under, which obviously is still not in any way a bad score. That's still solid. It's still fresh by 12%. In the case of The Lion King, the 2019 film has only a 52% from the critics. The interesting thing here is, while the audience score is much higher, honestly, in this case, I actually think the critics got it right and the audience got it wrong. I think the critic score is accurate. Yes, it absolutely deserves to be rotten. I think the audience score is way too high. Rescuers is going to win this round. Then when you look at the average score for each franchise, in the case of the Rescuers, you have an average of 75. In the case of Lion King, you have an average of 72. So it's pretty close, but Rescuers wins by just a little bit. The interesting thing I would say is that Lion King 2 Simba's Pride, even though it's a direct-to-video sequel, it's still fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Still has a 67%, which, isn't fantastic, but it's not bad by any means. And then Lion King 1.5 actually has a 76%, which is a really solid score that's certified fresh. Now, when we look at gap between lowest and highest score, you can tell by this point with Rescuers there's a lower gap because there's only a gap of 7 between 79 and 72, whereas with The Lion King, highest score is 93, lowest score is 52, so you have a gap of 41, so Rescuers wins this round, meaning that Rescuers is going to win this debate regardless of my personal opinion. But let's look at my personal opinion. In the case of the Rescuers franchise, I don't dislike either movie. I think that they're both good films. I like this idea about animals that form a rescue society, and so in both cases they're going out there to rescue this kid that's in a bad situation, that's being treated badly by these adults. In the case of the first movie, these mice are trying to rescue a girl who's being abused by these people on a boat. And then in the case of Rescuers Down Under, you have these mice that are going to Australia to save this boy who has unfortunately run into this mean hunter that's going after this rare eagle. I enjoy both movies, though. Yeah, I will say the setting of Rescuers Down Under is a bit more interesting than the setting of the first film, which is a swamp. In the case of The Lion King, obviously the Disney Renaissance classic is just fantastic. It has visuals that really hold up, songs that are iconic, memorable, and catchy, from Be Prepared to Circle of Life to I Just Can't Wait to Be King to Can You Feel the Love Tonight to Hakuna Matata. Be Prepared is my favorite song. It's the most nostalgic for me. I've sang to it many times before. I remember I used to own the original Lion King on VHS tape. I remember playing the Be Prepared scene and singing along to it. Then in the case of Lion King Simba's Pride, sure, it's direct to video, so the budget is lower. It doesn't look as good. Is the vocal quality quite as good? No, it's not, but overall, I think it works. I think it's a solid sequel to the original film that deals with the fact that, hey, there were lions that were loyal to Scar. And because of that, Simba banishes them from the Pride Lands. He obviously had a horrible experience of Scar, so he's naturally biased, prejudiced against these animals. He considers them outsiders. The other Pride Landers do as well. You have this lioness Zira, who really remembers Scar well, has this kid named Kovu, who she says was chosen by Scar to be his heir and successor. At first, Kovu is just brainwashed to be this aggressive, vicious lion. But then when Kovu meets Simba's daughter, Kiara, she shows him how to really live, how to have fun. So Kovu starts to break away from his mother's influence. At first, his mother comes up with this plan to get Kovu close to Simba so Kovu can kill Simba, but then Kovu realizes he wants to be his own lion. He doesn't want to do that, and then ultimately Kovu and Kiara end up together. Plus, the experience here gets Simba to realize the Outlanders are actually not all bad. So when you get to the end of the movie, almost all the Outlanders let go of prejudice, bigotry, hatred, but we see it tragically, Zira is too far gone. She's not able to let go of that hatred, and that's what leads to her downfall at the end. When it comes to Lion King 1.5, I think that it's good. I mean, I like that the movie fleshes out a bit more Simba's time with Timon and Pumbaa. Do I actually like that we're following Timon and Pumbaa around as they see events from the original movie? I don't know if that's the best direction to go in, but I don't think the movie's bad. Then you get the 2019 film, which had novelty when it came out because, oh, look, the visuals are so amazing. It reminds me so much of that movie from my childhood that I loved. But other than seeing it on a big screen and being wowed by the visuals, remembering the far superior classic, that movie has no value at all. It's just an utterly hollow, emotionally dead movie that is devoid of any kind of artistic or creative merit. It feels utterly cynical, utterly corporate, utterly soulless. It's just Disney taking advantage of people's nostalgia to make more money. So there's no reason at all why you would ever rewatch Lion King 2019. It just makes no sense. Rewatch the original classic that's far superior. Disney fundamentally failed to understand what actually makes a story like The Lion King work. A story like The Lion King is charming when you have these expressive, emotive animals that have personalities that really pop, thus you connect with them, you're emotionally invested in them. Animals that can sing, cry, dance, do all these things that lions don't do in the real world. When you think about it, animals in the real world don't express emotion on their faces the way that humans do. So as soon as you make the story live action, all the life is sucked out of it. All the energy is sucked out of it. So there's no longer any charm because you just have these emotionally dead animals that have the same blank unexpressive face throughout the whole movie. That's not interesting at all. And when you think about songs like Be Prepared or I Just Can't Wait to Be King, they fall utterly flat in the 2019 film because all the things that made them interesting, memorable, and distinct in the original animated classic are removed. So they're not entertaining at all. And on top of that, this new film doesn't look visually interesting. So many of the locations are just the same flat, generic brown rocks. So it's boring. So that movie has nothing to offer beyond the surface. So for me, this is actually very easy. There's no debate in my mind. Yeah, Rescuers is just the better, more consistent franchise. You know, The Lion King is a franchise that has a fantastic movie in it, but not a great franchise as a whole. I'm not excited at all about Mufasa, Lion King story, because again, fundamentally, I just think Lion King does not work live action, so I don't see how you could ever make a live action Lion King movie and actually make it engaging and actually give it emotion. That'll be it for this video.